The Boss was the worst everything of my forever. At least that's what I posted on Facebook after seeing it. And, okay, that's a bit hyperbolic. The Boss is far from the worst film I've ever seen, but it is certainly the worst thing I've seen so far this year. I sought out The Boss because I wanted a good comedy, but saying, I want to laugh, so I'm going to watch The Boss is kind of like saying, I'm horny, so I'm going to stare at a bucket of dead fish. Unless you're wired to a specific weird setting, it's just not going to do the trick. As the film opens up, we learn that young Michelle Daniel has spent her life in and out of homes as adoptive parents continue to return her to the orphanage where she was raised. Years later, Michelle Daniel has grown up and is now being played by Melissa McCarthy. She has become a wealthy businesswoman specifically by forsaking any notion of family, a lesson she imparts to her fans who gather to see her perform in stadiums for some reason. Yes, this is a movie that starts out with Melissa McCarthy rapping and somehow manages to only get worse from there. And that's the problem with films like The Boss. Not the rapping, although that's certainly up there. No, it's one of those movies that presents a moral dilemma for our main character. A dilemma that is plain as day to anyone watching. Right away, we can spot what the protagonist's problem is and how they will need to overcome it. Because as members of the audience, we have a high-functioning brain. But the film makes us wait 100 joyless minutes for this person to figure it out, because if they don't stretch, there's no movie. And sure, let's just see what this one has in store. Kristen Bell plays Michelle's assistant, Claire, a smart woman and single mom. Wow, checking all the boxes here. Who is treated like dirt by her boss. Hey, bet the tables will turn, right? Yes, exactly. Michelle is arrested for insider trading, spends a few months in prison, and having no money or assets when she gets out, has to crash in her former assistant's one-bedroom apartment. It sounds like the premise of a sitcom, and honestly, that would have probably played better. Along the way, she discovers Claire can cook a mean brownie, and the two go into business together with an army of young girls selling the concoctions. Michelle needs to put aside her years of selfishness and distrust and discover the one thing her life has been missing all along: a family. I think I threw up and fell asleep at least 3 times while writing that description. And when it's all said and done, the film can't even do this well, because while McCarthy's character remains inappropriate and acerbic throughout, she stops being mean and self-centered almost immediately. In fact, when it comes time to present characters designed to oppose Michelle, they can't bother to write a character that, say, might have a decent heart, but is distrustful of someone who has proven to be cruel and untrustworthy in the past. No, instead, we get characters that would be considered too cartoonish for the most juvenile Nickelodeon program. Now, if I'm being completely honest, there is one scene in The Boss, half a scene really, that really works. It's a scene dealing with the escalated rivalry between Michelle's girls and the local nonprofit Girl Scout-like troop. For those 30 to 45 seconds, I admit I laughed a bit. But even this scene took the joke too far and ended with McCarthy dominating it. And this is a pattern in the film. It's not just that the film isn't funny. It's that it takes those unfunny bits and keeps beating them into the ground. McCarthy rarely plays well with her co-stars, instead running away with the material as they try to catch up, which they are able to do maybe half the time. We get a lot of scenes that lazily use awkwardness in place of humor, rather than using awkwardness as a springboard for humor. Many scenes are improvised into absurdity as director Ben Falcone simply leaves the camera running. You know when improv works best? When you can't tell that it's improv. Most of the scenes in this film go on and on as the cast tries to find the jokes, thinks they found the joke, usually they haven't, and proceeds to kill any kind of amusement that joke could have ever provided. And to those of you who are saying, but the trailer made me laugh, a lot of those jokes didn't make it into the final cut. The Boss is cliched, unfunny, and just a miserable experience overall. It's a lazy movie with a lazy script filled with a talented cast who didn't even try to bring their A game. Sure, it looks like they've had a good time making the film, but would it kill them to take some of that entertainment and pay it forward to the audience? On my 7-point scale, The Boss is the worst. Oh, did I mention T-Pain cameos in this? Yeah, that's not a win.